How do you rate your chances in Victoria?
Look, I think it'll be an interesting election in the seat of Nepean. Talking to the people of Victoria, your home state, they're all desperate for change. They want to get rid of the Labor Party. They've had enough of them. Businesses are going under. This fellow who's standing for us, he's actually an engineering construction engineer. His business is going under. He's had to put off 4 people. I'm hearing it all the time. Land taxes is destroying businesses, even private property owners. It's snatch and grab down there, the escalating crime. People are desperate for change. A lot of people are leaving the state to come up to Queensland actually because they want to get away from it. Tax to the hilt. There's no security, no safety, no job security. It's a basket case, Andrew. It really is, and you still want to live there. So it needs help, big help, and I hope that we can implement policies to give some direction for the people in Victoria because they're screaming out for it.
Yeah, don't rub that bit in about where I live, Pauline. It hurts at the moment. That said, you know, I just showed you got treated pretty well. It wasn't just reporters saying it. I showed the clip.
Before you go, there's something even more surprising coming next. The next clip reveals what they didn't want Australians to notice, and it's already changing the political landscape. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
That said, 2 polls today showed a slight dip in your support, although it's obviously still very high. I mean, News poll has your primary vote down 2 points to 24, still ahead of the Liberals. And the Resolve poll also has you down 2, Labor up 3 and the Coalition up 1. I read commentators saying that we've now seen peak One Nation. How do you read the polls?
Look, let's see what's happening. I said it's like the stock market. You're up one day and down the next, and that's what the polling is. The true polling will be on election day. We'll see what happens in Victoria on the 2nd of May and in Farah on the 9th of May as well. So, Andrew, you know, I've had a lot of negativity that's thrown at the party in the last couple of weeks, but another thing is that Angus Taylor, the Liberal Party, released an immigration policy that's right out of my playbook, right out of my policies. So they've taken a lot of things that I've been saying over years, but the difference between the Liberals and myself, they won't deliver it. They haven't got the guts to deliver, to go hard on those ones that are in the country illegally, to cut right back on immigration, to deal with the foreign students, the working visas they have, the ABNs, and the people overstaying their visas in the nation. So we really have to get tough on immigration if we want to get the country back on track, and that's what One Nation will do.
Well, just touching on the first thing you alluded to, Barnaby Joyce suggested that One Nation is paying the price in part, as you said, for having hired a convicted rapist in your head office. Is he right? No,
he's not right in that, you know, paying the price in the polls for this. There's been a combination of different things that's happened over the past week. The allegations that have been directed at myself and the party, again, it's the same false allegations. That happens all the time. You know, we cop it more than any other political party from the media, especially who are left-leaning in their bias towards One Nation. But I hope the people are seeing through all that and will, you know, judge us on our performance and our policies. That's the main thing. Who is prepared to turn it around? And I say to the voters, are you happy with what you've got in the last 5 to 10 years? If not, then the government you've got is not delivering for you and the future generations. And this is what people must reflect on.
Pauline Hanson, good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
What starts here as a straightforward election question quickly turns into a much broader political argument about frustration, trust, and the direction of an entire state. When Pauline Hanson says Victorians are desperate for change, she's not just making a campaign claim, she's tapping into a familiar narrative we often see in modern politics, the idea that voters feel pushed to a breaking point. At the core of her argument is economic pressure. Rising land taxes, struggling businesses, and concerns about job security are presented as evidence that things aren't working under the current leadership. This is a powerful framing because economic anxiety tends to resonate widely, especially when it's tied to real-life examples like small business owners being forced to lay off staff. But the key question for viewers is this: are these isolated cases being amplified for political impact, or do they reflect a broader statewide trend? Another major theme is public safety and quality of life. Hanson points to escalating crime and people leaving Victoria as signs of decline. This kind of messaging is effective because it connects policy issues with everyday experiences, safety, stability, and community confidence. However, like many political claims, it depends heavily on interpretation. Crime statistics, migration patterns, and economic data can often tell different stories depending on how they're framed and over what time period they're measured. The conversation also shifts into polling, which introduces another layer of complexity. When asked about a dip in support, Hanson compares polls to the stock market, up one day, down the next. This reflects a common political strategy, downplaying short-term fluctuations while emphasizing the importance of election day results. It's a reminder that polling can influence perception, but it's not always a reliable predictor of final outcomes. A particularly interesting moment comes when Hanson argues that immigration policies proposed by opponents are taken directly from her own platform. This raises a broader issue in politics: policy convergence. When major parties adopt ideas from smaller or more fringe groups, it can blur ideological lines and shift the political center. But it also raises questions about credibility: who will actually follow through, and who is simply responding to public pressure. At the same time, Hanson positions herself and her party as outsiders facing constant criticism from the media and political establishment. This us versus them framing is a common rhetorical tool. It can strengthen support among existing followers by reinforcing a sense of opposition to mainstream narratives. However, it can also deepen political polarization, making constructive debate more difficult. The exchange briefly touches on controversy and allegations, which Hanson dismisses as recurring and politically motivated. This highlights another recurring theme in political communication: competing claims about credibility. In an environment where both sides accuse each other of bias or misinformation, it becomes increasingly important for viewers to look beyond rhetoric and examine verifiable facts. Stepping back, what we're really seeing here is more than just criticism of the Australian Labor Party. It's a broader argument about governance, performance, and whether voters feel their current leadership is delivering results. Hanson frames the last 5 to 10 years as a period of decline, urging voters to reflect on their own experiences rather than relying solely on political messaging. But this brings us to the central question: how do voters evaluate change? Is it based on personal financial pressure, public services, safety, or long-term economic indicators? And perhaps more importantly, does frustration with the current system automatically translate into confidence in an alternative? There's also an underlying tension between perception and reality. Political messaging often amplifies dissatisfaction, but real-world conditions are usually more complex. Some sectors may be struggling while others are growing. Some communities may feel unsafe while others see improvements. The challenge for any voter is separating broad claims from measurable outcomes. In the end, this exchange reflects a familiar democratic cycle: discontent, challenge, and the promise of change. Hanson's message is clear. Voters should judge the current government on their lived experience and decide whether it's time for something different. Whether that message resonates widely enough will ultimately be decided not in interviews or polls, but at the ballot box. So the real question is this: do you see these concerns as a genuine reflection of conditions on the ground, or as political framing designed to influence perception? And when it comes to change, what matters more to you? Economic stability, public safety, or leadership trust? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more clear, balanced breakdowns of major political debates, don't forget to like and subscribe.